What's going on, guys? It's Deathlock here. Today we're going to be talking about some rather interesting information concerning Dr. Doom and what he's trying to do in the Fortnite map in Chapter 5 Season 4 entitled Absolute Doom. Now, basically, from what we understand, he's trying to summon MEPHISTO to try and take all his powers, if you will, in a similar way to how he's done that with Pandora's Box earlier on in Chapter 5 Season 4. So I'm just going to give you a bit of a backstory about how Dr. Doom came to be, and then we'll talk about the Fortnite lore and what we could potentially see during the live event. So we suspect a live event is going to be happening around the first week of August time frame. So let me know what you guys' views and opinions are of this in the comments box down below. So I'm just going to go quickly through and talk about his past and where this leads up to now. So for this, basically for those who don't know, Victor Werner von Doom, which is Dr. Doom's full name, was born in a place called Hasenstadt, Latveria, and he was born to Cynthia, who we believe was a witch. So that was his mother, and Werner von Doom was his father, who were members of the Zephyro, which is a local Romani class in Latveria, who were much maligned under the rule of King Vladimir. They were constantly forced to be on the run from the king's soldiers. While his father used traditional medicine and worked as a healer, Cynthia was a practitioner of sorcery. So basically she was using like dark arts, black magic type thing. So that's really interesting. Victor was claimed that he was full recall of all his memories dating back from being in utero, which I don't think is actually possible IRL, but that's really interesting, and suspects that it might have something to do with his mother's practitioner of the dark arts. While Victor was still 4 years old, Cynthia was slain after foolishly making a pact with the demon MEPHISTO. Now I'll come on to him in a moment, wherein she gained the power to attack the king's enemies with magic, but it came at the cost of the lives of all the children in a nearby village, which horrified Cynthia, and she became hunted by the king's men and eventually slain. Found by Werner, she had him promised not to let her son learn of the use of the dark arts, and she was buried in an unmarked grave when the other members of the Zephyro began speaking poorly of Cynthia. Her unarticulate son spoke up in her defence, also warning the other Roma that continuing to speak poorly of her would force him to grow up just to be like his mother. Following the funeral, Werner hid the mystical artifacts of his late wife from his son in an effort to protect him. Growing up, Victor often played with a young girl named Valeria, and she was Doom's only friend among his people, and by the age of 11, their friendship grew into love. And it was during this time that the king's wife became terminally ill with cancer, and so he sent his guards to collect Werner to try and cure her. Saving the king's wife was out of Werner's power, and she eventually died of her illness. The king ordered Werner's death. Werner then fled the Zephyro village with his son into the Latverian Alps, and had to spend the night out in the elements after their horse ran off. Werner wrapped his son in his clothing, leaving him exposed to the elements, and Werner and Victor were found by another Romani named Boris, who brought him back to the village. There on his deathbed, Werner put Victor in the care of Boris, and his dying words were a warning of protection involving Victor. Boris presumed that Werner believed that he was being told to protect the world from his son, and furious over his father's death, Victor vowed to eventually get revenge. So basically, I'm just going to go skip over a little bit of this. Eventually, Victor became a master of both science and magic, and vowed to use these skills to become master of the world. This drew a wedge between he and Valeria, who feared that Victor was out of his control. Seeing her as weak, this drove a wedge between the two, and Victor started off by using his skills to sell various barons and lords of Latveria seemingly valuable objects, such as a violin that required no skill to play, hair salve that could cure headaches, and various other trinkets and sundries. However, Von Doom usually tricked his wealthy clients, as most of the items he'd sold would either go sour or break shortly after departure. This earned him enmity among the ruling class of Latveria and the surrounding region. However, attempts to capture Doom and execute him for his crimes were always met with failure, thanks to Doom's various devices that allowed him to evade capture. One of his earliest forays into robotics included a robot which he'd stand in for himself for a fireman squad. Doom also used his mastery of both science and sorcery to protect the Zephyro people, making him their leader and protector, as they tried to stay a step ahead of the king, who also persecuted them. One night, while Victor went for a walk away from the village, he was caught by one of the King Vladimir's soldiers, who had nothing to defend himself. With a rifle pointed in his direction, Victor suddenly lunged at the soldier and strangled him. Victor looked the man in the eye as his life was snuffed out, and the experience left him feeling horrified. Believing that he had finally become his mother's son, Victor's hands shook well into the next day. Eventually, stories of Victor's scientific prowess reached the USA, Original accounts state that a scout from State University offered him a scholarship. However, it's since been revealed that the man seeking Victor out was from the US Army, who had sought to recruit Victor's talents before he was tapped by foreign nations that were hostile to the US at the time. We believe that at the present moment in time it could potentially have been Russia. Victor was offered a full scholarship at State University on top of using his skills to develop new weapons for the USA. He accepted the offer and seeing this as a new chance, this also means as a means to escape what his life had become in Latveria. At the time he had arrived in America, he had come to the conclusion that his mother's soul was trapped in MEPHISTO's realm, and became determined to reach that realm by studying alternate dimensions as a means of creating a device to reach her. Upon arrival, Victor was given a lab facility on a US Army base, where he was to conduct his experiments. Upon arrival, Victor met another young genius named Reed Richards, who took interest in Doom's work, although Doom was uninterested in forming a friendship with him and nearly came to blows with Richards' future roommate Ben Grimm. Accounts state that Victor was offered a chance to be roommates with Reed Richards, but he refused. But in reality, the government had set Doom up with a private dorm with a hidden soundproof lab. Richards remained beneath Von Doom's notice until a physics class, where Victor got into disagreement with his professor over the work of Einstein, pertaining to parallel universes. When Richards spoke up to defend Victor's theoretical point of view, Von Doom angrily told Richards he did not require his assistance, but was nonetheless impressed. Reed and Doom became rivals. While not friends, Richards and Doom saw each other as intellectual peers, constantly debating esoteric theories that amazed their professors. Needing a better computer than the universities, they designed a revolutionary new one together. So basically, for those who don't know, it appears he's trying to create this machine that allows him to basically transport himself from at the university in New York all the way over to MEPHISTO's realm, where he's trying to save his mother. Doom mostly kept to himself and refused to involve himself in other activities other than other university students engaged in, namely athletics, drinking, or fraternization with the opposite sex. His work didn't gain him admirers both romantically from the women and his classmates for his scientific genius. He soon gained a lab assistant named Daniel Kurtz, who worked with Doom devotedly. With the military, Von Doom began working on robots for combat use, while in the Storm Lab began building a device that would allow him to search for the soul of his mother. Doom continued his study into the black arts as well. One night, Victor decided to accompany Kurt to a party and allowed himself to partake in drinking and flirting with a girl. When the girl took Victor into the mud to make out, he was soon disgusted by her forthright nature, contrary to the behaviour he was used to with Valeria, and soon began to strangle her. Seeing the face of the soldier he killed, Victor suddenly became disgusted in himself and stopped, and the girl fled. Victor did not get into trouble with the authorities because both State University admins and the military hushed the incident up and forced the girl to leave the school, allowing Victor to continue his work unfettered, although his fellow classmates were terrified of him. He also continued working for the military, where he continued to develop his robotics technology, as well as the first working prototype of his time platform. So that is really interesting to say the least here, guys. One day, Reed Richards happened upon Doom's notes for his device to contact his mother. In most accounts, it is said that Richards found that some of his calculations were off. However, when Doom caught Richards looking at his notes, his pride, ego, and anger prevented him from listening to Richards' warnings, and he continued on with the experiment. However, more recent accounts state that Richards was unable to fathom Doom's fusion of both science and magic to operate the device. The device worked for a few moments, and Doom was briefly transported to MEPHISTO's realm, where his mother begged him to turn back. MEPHISTO reached out and touched Doom, chilling him to the bone. So that is really interesting. As far as that is concerned, it was at the moment the experiment literally blew up in his face, scarring it. For conducting the experiment in secret and without authorization from the university, Von Doom was expelled from State University and blamed Richards for the experiment going wrong. In one account, it stated that Doom's face only suffered a minor scar, but he believed that his face was hideously disfigured for all time. So that is really interesting, to say the least. So as you guys can see, he's basically trying to get revenge for what MEPHISTO did to his mother and trying to attempt to retrieve her soul. So that is really interesting. So Victor stayed in a hospital bed, refusing to talk to authorities regarding the explosion. He had sleepless nights, had consistent nightmares as a result of that. I think it did eventually he did eventually recover from this. So that is very, very interesting to say the least. They did eventually... So Victor and Valeria actually managed to reunite in France. Victor's location was discovered by the Russian KGB, who also sought to recruit him into their service after he started to seek refuge in France. So that is really interesting to say the least there, guys. And that's what made him become Doctor Doom. So that's really interesting. So basically he's trying to seek his destiny in the Himalayan mountains after Valeria begging Victor to come back to Latveria, which Doctor Doom refused. So that's really interesting to say the least here, guys. Now, for those who don't know, Cynthia Von Doom actually does have a memorial in the Fortnite map at the moment, just southeast of Rebel's Roost in the northwest corner of the map. Also, if you guys paid attention, you will also notice there's actually a loading screen. I think it's called Ghost Rider, with the Durburger head, which just looks pretty cool there, guys. And as you guys can see, you can actually see Mephisto in the background on top of a building. So we could potentially see him coming out of the tower just outside of Doom Castle in the Fortnite map as well. So, and that obviously would explain all the red lava that you guys are currently seeing in game at the moment. Just a little backstory from how this all started. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Doctor Doom actually did join the main characters back in the days of Chapter 2 Season 4 during the Nexus War against Galactus. So, but instead of assisting all of the good guys, I suppose, I can't think of any alternative way of saying this. Instead of doing that, he actually decided to take over Pleasant Park, rename it, I can't remember what he named it now, something of Doom, Doom's Domain. So basically, he tried to take over Pleasant Park, recall it Doom's Domain, and then that's how that all happened. Also, during the after stealing some of Stark Industries tech, and after the heroes decided to rift Galactus back to Reality 616 or Earth 616, all of the heroes actually got rifted back to their respective realities as well. Now, during the Zero War scenario, which involved the Imagined Order and the Seven, apparently Doctor Doom was also involved in that as well. The Imagined Order were trying to build the Collider, otherwise known as the Doomsday device, and basically the Seven were trying to get the mech, which was on the, I think it was on the Ice Moon if I'm not mistaken. They were trying to rebuild that, and because there was no electricity in a cold climate, they were unable to do so. So basically, they needed to try and find ways to actually restructure that, bring it onto the map, and to destroy the Collider which the Imagined Order built. Now, while the Seven was split up into two groups of several characters, basically the Imagined Order and the Seven, one of the groups actually got challenged by Dr. Sloan and Gunner, and some members of the Seven, which actually included Spider-Man, believe it or not, tried to send all of the peoples, I suppose, back to Reality 616. Now, one of the main antagonists, if you will, Geno, actually decided to invite Doctor Doom to his inner circle. So that is really interesting to think about here, guys, as they're trying to somehow deal with reality, basically trying to involve Reality 616 as well. So fast forward to now, as you guys can see, we've also got footage, as you guys can see, of Doctor Doom posing as the Cloaked Wanderer. Now, the Wanderer, we actually didn't know the full identity of until one of the live events that we recently witnessed in the Fortnite map. But as you guys can see, he was roaming around certain areas or certain points of interest within the Fortnite map. This one's him at her lavish lair, as you guys are currently seeing, or just out the outskirts of it. Just roaming around locations within the Fortnite map. None of us knew why he was targeting specific locations, but that's really interesting to think about here, guys. Fast forward to the Pipeline live event, as you guys are currently seeing on screen, Megalodon, who was one of the members of the enemy faction, if you will, decided to use all of the nitro energy that was built up in one of the points of interest and use the nitro energy to basically fuel up his boat in order to see one of his fellow friends, if you will, in the Fortnite map at a different POI. This ultimately failed because Dr. Doom actually sent back all of that natural energy, if you will, back to the area which it came from, overriding Megalodon's plans. So that was really interesting, to say the least. And this, obviously, as a result of this, actually revealed Pandora's box. Now, Pandora's box, Dr. Doom actually absorbed all the energy from the armor he's been building in order to make himself more powerful. Now, we suspect at this present moment in time this is what he's planned to do with Mephisto. So, as you guys can see, Dr. Doom foiling Megalodon's plans, using all of the nitro to basically blow up the point of interest where all the nitro energy has been stored, and literally underneath that POI was actually Pandora's box. So I'll just fast forward to a rather interesting clip of Dr. Doom actually absorbing all the energy that was from Pandora's box here, guys. So as you guys can see, this actually came from the official season trailer called Absolute Doom. As you guys can see, Dr. Doom actually absorbs all of the bad things that came from Pandora's box, so to speak, and this allows him to make himself more powerful. But since Doom's castle is currently run by Doombot, the actual Dr. Doom, who we actually witnessed once again in the Day of Doom LTM, has since been in hiding, trying to upgrade his armor from absorbing all of what he could from Pandora's box. We are expecting him to see him during, from what we understand, the October 1st to October 5th update, potentially during the live event, which could be potentially either promoting Fortnitemares or the Fortnite lore itself. So, very, very interesting. Let me know which side are you guys going to be on. Are you going to be on like the Dr. Doom side of things? Are you going to be on the heroes side of things, I guess you could call them, or the Avengers, whatever you want to call themselves, guys? But I'm keen to hear what you guys' views and opinions are of this rather interesting storyline in the comments box down below. Just as a reminder here, guys, just before we wrap this up, as you guys can see, we can see all of the trophies that Dr. Doom has killed over the time during the comics. So first of all, we've got here the Thing from the Fantastic Four, which is turned into a throne. You've also got the Human Torch, which is actually using the Heart of to heat up Doom's personal room. So that is really interesting there. I've also got Sue Storm, who I think is referenced in the article I've been reading out to you guys. So as you guys can see, there's nothing in there but a chair with the name engraved on the actual casing as well. I've also got Doctor Strange. Now, he was also involved in the storyline, so that's really interesting. Ultron. I've also got Silver Surfer and his surfboard there. Magneto's mask. There's also one of the other members of the Fantastic Four. I've also got Moon Knight and Galactus's helmet, as you guys can see, is currently sitting outside the map on fire. Very, very interesting stuff there, guys. Keen to hear what you guys' views and opinions are in the comments box down below. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't upload. Make sure you guys use code DEFMONK99 to the item shop, and I'll see you in the next one.